Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. It's Bank Holiday Monday, so we're going to do something a bit different today, as we often do on a Bank Holiday Monday at Gas Service. I'm going to do a historic video. I'm going to contrast and compare the two summers of 1911 and 1912. 1911, very hot summer. 1912, an absolutely dire summer, and the fact that they occurred sort of back to back with one another really is quite amazing. So we're going to have a look at how those two summers panned out. Of course, we're coming up to summer now. In the next few weeks, we're going to be moved towards summer of 2015. Will it be a 1911 or a 1912? That will be one of the big questions to answer through the next few weeks. But before I get on with the historic video, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all of the pages at gazoffice.com. Have a browse through the widgets, and if there's any articles that you're interested in, you can click through and go off and read those articles. And thanks so much for doing that, widgets. It's just underneath the web video here on the home page, so have a look at that. I'll tweak the home page quite a bit. It looks significantly different compared to what it used to do. Hope you like the changes that we've made. Basically, the web videos now above the fold, so you don't have to go looking for it when you hit onto the page. I hope you like the change. It's going to take some getting used to, even for me, but I'm sure we'll get used to it in time. Just to say about the video ad as well, there is a video ad on some of the page, not on all of the page, but on some of the pages. It opens out within the text, so if you can have a look at the video, so proper commercial length, just 20-30 seconds. If you can watch it, you'll be helping to pay the website. Thanks very much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. Right, what else have I got to say? Well, the historic videos couldn't happen without two elements that are always crucial. I always have to explain this at the start of the historic videos. We've got the charts, which are from the Historic Archive at wetcentral.de, and that archive goes all the way back to 1871. So it goes a long, long time back, and we're going a long way back today, actually, for this video. And also, the information that you hear in the video, much of it is going to be coming from Trevor Harley, the personal website of Trevor Harley, Professor Trevor Harley. As I always have to say in these historic videos, I couldn't do them without the charts and without the information that I glean from Trevor Harley. So the links to both wetcentral.de and also to Trevor Harley's website is on the links page. You can while away many, many hours on a rainy Bank Holiday Monday, as I have done personally, at both Wet Central and at Trevor Harley's website. Do check out those websites if you get the chance, and just say enjoy the video. Don't do many of these historic videos, just do 2 or 3 a year, so I hope you enjoy the video, and thanks very much for watching. So I'm going to start off on the 31st of May, actually, just before the start of summer 1911. This is quite an interesting day. It was a very violent day. Some very severe thunderstorms occur from this trough of low pressure that sits south. Basically, May 1911 had been the start of the extended hot summer. It was a warm month, it was a warm May with lots of fine and sunny weather, but it ended on a very thundery note. And this day, the 31st of May, is a bit notorious, really, because the thunderstorms were very, very violent. The lightning strikes, wind damage, and local flooding all combined to produce a very severe day. 17 people in London alone were killed on this day, mainly through lightning strikes. The lightning was very, very severe. It was the day of the Derby storm at Epsom, and 14 people were injured there by the lightning, including, unfortunately, 3 people killed, and 4 horses also were struck by lightning. So it was an incredibly violent day, this day, May the 31st, 1911. Of course, in a hot summer, you tend to get periodically very violent thunderstorms being generated by the heat and the humidity, and this is sort of the start of the really hot summer. So anyway, we go on into the summer, and this is the chart for the 1st of June 1911, and the thundery trough is clearing away, and this area of high pressure is developing up over Scandinavia. June 1911 comes out with central temperature 14.5, so not extraordinarily hot, but it was certainly a warm month, and particularly the early part of the month was really warm, so the high pressure takes over as we run through. Here we are on the 6th of June, for instance, on the Azores high, which is always one of the omnipresent features through the hot summers. That's ridging in across the country, producing some very warm weather. The 5th of June sees temperatures up to 31 Celsius, 88 Fahrenheit in London under this area of high pressure. And this high pressure sticks around as we move through in towards the 8th of June. And then on into the 10th, the high pressure remains really dominant. So lots of dry weather through this early part of June. Temperatures in sort of the mid to upper 20s, just around the 30 Celsius mark. Aberdeen reaches 29.4 degrees on the 8th, which is a very high temperature, one of the highest on record for Scotland or so early in the summer. Now, the high pressure is beginning to slip just a little bit to the west of the country as we go into the 10th. This is starting to allow cooler air to come down from the north. Still very early in the summer, so that sort of heat that we have through that first week to 10 days of June can't be maintained, and cooler air infiltrates down from the north, albeit still with a lot of settled weather. There's not much rain with this, but it certainly is turning cooler from the north as we move through up towards the middle of the month. But high pressure remains very dominant, so lots of dry weather continues, and that goes on beyond the middle of the month, albeit with cooler temperatures, but still lots of dry and fine conditions. As we go through to the 17th, we start to turn a little bit more unsettled. This area of low pressure is developing down to the southwest, and that starts to bring some rain up from the southwest. So it does turn more unsettled as we move through in towards, say, the 18th, the 21st of June. We're in a westerly flow. By no means is this a June monsoon, but it is a little bit more unsettled compared to the first half of the month, and certainly a little bit cooler as well, bringing these westerlies through across the country. Turns very unsettled for a time as we go through towards the 24th of June with a trough of low pressure right over the top of the country. And this period did actually have a little bit of flooding up across northeast parts of the country around Northumberland and Yorkshire with this area of low pressure. So this is the most unsettled phase of June, and in fact probably the most unsettled phase of the summer. As we go through towards the end of the month, we keep it relatively unsettled in the north, but we're ridging the high pressure into the south, so it's a bit of a north-south split, still unsettled in the north, but more settled down south. The Azores high is beginning to get itself together. Now, you're probably wondering what all the fuss is about while we're doing a historic video for 1911. Well, let's go on to July, and you'll see that very quickly, although July 1911 starts off quite unsettled, still with westerlies coming in very, very quickly, the Azores high starts to build up. Here we go on the 3rd of July. The Azores high is pushing up from the southwest, and here we go into the 4th, and the heat wave is beginning to get itself going. The high pressure is ridging in from the southwest. It's still a little bit unsettled in the north, but it's mainly dry, very warm and fine down in the south. This is a fantastic summer month. Hot, dry, sunny is the way Trevor Harvey describes this month. It has Central England temperature of 18.2, so it's right up the top there with the hottest months. If you get above 18 Celsius, really you're into the sort of hottest months that we can generate. Very, very occasionally, 1983 and again 2006, we did pop up to above 19 Celsius, and I think possibly August 1995 we did that as well, just popped up to 19 Celsius. Maybe August 1997 also. But generally, it's 18 to 19 degrees is sort of the hottest months that we get in the United Kingdom. And July 1911 is right up there with the hottest month. So as we move through, we can see that the high pressure just intensifies through the 5th into the 6th. There it goes. The high pressure's building in across the country, turning it dry, hot and sunny across all parts of the UK. Look at that for the 10th of July 1911. That high pressure is right in there over the top of the country. We're pushing up the temperatures, certainly getting up to 32 degrees quite widely through this part of July. So we're going into the 90 Fahrenheit mark very, very widely. With high pressure so persistent, we are staying there as well. That's about as good as it gets for a summer chart in the United Kingdom, with that high pressure of 1,030 millibars sitting right over top of the country. These are the upper air temperatures that go with that. The 15 Celsius isotherm is virtually in there across the country. We're almost going down towards the 20 Celsius isotherm down to the south of the country. So between 15 and 20 degrees at 850 HPA. That will be lifting the temperatures in unbroken sunshine, no doubt, to sort of the levels of, let's say, 32, 33, 34 degrees. Well, into the 90 Fahrenheit mark. That high pressure persists as we go through into the 13th, so it's day after day after day of sustained hot, dry, sunny conditions. As we go through towards the middle of the month, there's a little bit of a change. That high pressure just pulls out ever so slightly to the west and allows this northerly wind to begin to come down from the north. And that turns it a little bit cooler. It lowers the temperatures, still very warm, possibly hot in places, but it's lowering the temperatures to more sort of sensible values. Certainly by the time we get through to the 17th of July, we are in a cooler flow there. The heat's sort of draining away to the south and west. But this isn't the end of the heat wave, because it tries to turn a little bit unsettled on the 19th of July, but it all just ends up promoting this area of high pressure down to the southwest. And this is the hottest point of the summer, really, as we go through the 21st and on into the 22nd of July. This area of high pressure down to the southwest sucking up very hot temperatures from the south. You've got to remember, I've explained this in other videos that I've done about hot summers, that it sort of feeds back on itself in a way. So you've got to imagine that much of France and Spain and Portugal and Germany has been baking and baking and baking under this persistent area of high pressure, and it's a bit like a fan-assisted oven, if you like. The heat just builds and builds, and it gets sucked northwards. So by the time you get through to 22nd of July, we have had some very extreme and sustained heat going on across many parts of Central and Southern Europe, and that all starts to get sucked northwards around this area of high pressure with this low pressure up to northwest. This is a very similar chart, not quite as extreme, but very similar to that chart which generated the really hot temperatures in August 2003. Now, there was a reading on this day, the 22nd of July 1911, of 38.1 degrees, 100.5 Fahrenheit at Greenwich. That is now not accepted, but at the time, it was quite widely reported, I think, that the UK had hit 100 Fahrenheit. But I say that's not really accepted now because of the screening conditions were non-standard. So it's more likely that we were somewhere around 36, 37 degrees, so sort of right at the upper end of the 90s Fahrenheit, but certainly not far away from 100 Fahrenheit through the course of this period. Have a look at the upper air temperatures for the 22nd of July, and again you can see that it's very warm, if not really hot across many parts of the country. There's 15 Celsius, and that isn't as far north as it was on the earlier chart that we looked at from earlier in the month. But you've got, as I say, to keep in mind that the heat on the surface is getting more extreme across the continent. So although the 50 Celsius isotherm isn't actually as far north as the chart we looked at, I think it was the 10th of July, because the heat is getting more intense and building more across the continent, that sort of means that we don't need to lift the upper air temperatures quite as high to generate very extreme heat. And I say this is the hottest day of the summer. Now, as we move through into the final stages of July, it begins to turn a little bit cooler once again. Still very warm, if not hot, and this area of low pressure on the 27th of July begins to generate some pretty severe thunderstorms as it starts to try and move in off the Atlantic, and we end July sort of with low pressure out to the west, high pressure to the east, still bringing up very warm air from the south, very humid air as well, with widespread thunderstorms going on through this period. Can you believe there was 334 hours of sunshine in London during this month? Probably the sunniest month recorded until July 2006. There was no recorded rain in Bath. No measurable rain was recorded in Bath, despite the fact that we aimed July quite a thundery note with thunderstorms coming in from west. No rain was recorded in Bath, and other towns and cities across the country also had no measurable rain through the course of this month. Now, we go through to August, and you may think that, well, that's it, that's the end of the summer. Not at all, because August also has a central England temperature, same as July, of 18.2. So to get 2 summer months with central England temperatures above 18 Celsius, that really is putting this summer into the very, very best summers on record. This really is a remarkable summer. It's up there with the very best when you get both July and August coming out above 18 Celsius. So it's another very hot month. We start off with this thundery low out to the west, but that soon is a thing of the past, because as we go through the first week, again, the Azores high is building up from the southwest, pushing this area of low pressure, keeping it out of the way. And here we go, another heat wave being generated as we move through into the 8th from the Azores high, pushing up this ridge to the east of the country. And there we are, we're into the 9th, and another heat wave is obviously going on here. The Azores high has built up towards Scandinavia, so when you get the Azores high building to the Scandinavian high, they sort of build these very intense ridges, and the heat can be pushed up again from the continent, from France and Spain as well. So on this day, on the 9th of July 1911, we record temperatures of 36.7 degrees, around 98 Fahrenheit. That's in Raws in Northampton. And that, of course, comes off the back of what happened in July. So to be getting temperatures in both July and August of around 35, 36 degrees, that really is very unusual and very extreme sort of temperatures. And I believe this was the hottest August day on record up to, of course, 1990. We know what happened in August 1990, where we hit 100 Fahrenheit. And then again, we beat that in 2003, but there was a very, very long run from this day, 9th of August 1911, through to, I think it was the 3rd of August 1990. Very, very long run where this intense heat wasn't beaten. It wasn't beaten even in the best summers of 75, 76. Even those summers didn't beat this very extreme heat wave that we had early on in August 1911. So we see that we've got the very high upper air temperatures again there across the country, 15 Celsius, 850 HPA wide across the country. And of course, on explain, it's getting hotter over France, so we don't need the upper air temperature to go quite as high to generate very extreme heat down on the surface. As we move through into the middle part of August 1911, still very warm, if not hot. I'm sure temperatures here will be around 30, 32 degrees. Not quite as intensely hot as it was a few days before, but the high pressure is still in control, bringing in these hot easterly winds across the country. So it's mainly dry, very sunny and hot conditions, and they persist through in towards the 17th of August as well. And then it begins to turn a little bit more unsettled for the final week to 10 days of August 1911. Unfortunately, it does turn more unsettled. So here we are on the 22nd. We're bringing a proper low pressure system through. That brought some quite violent thunderstorms during the initial transition from the hot and settled conditions of around 17th and 18th through to these more unsettled conditions that we have through to the 22nd of August. And then we end up on quite an unsettled note on the 25th of August. Low pressure is in control, and that goes on towards the end of the month, although by the 31st the Azores high is building back in again. And I won't show you the charts for September 1911 because we're going to press on with the next summer, but I can tell you that September 1911 sort of continued the heat, and 34.6 degrees was recorded again in Raws in Northampton on the 8th of September, one of the hottest days in September of the century. So that was an extraordinarily good summer in 1911. But now let me show you what happens the next year as we go through to 1912, because this is almost as bad as the summer of 1911 was good. So I'm going to show you the charts now for the summer of 1912. I'm going to start off with June. The central temperature for June 1912 comes out at 13.9, so not too bad, about average really, but it's unsettled. It's an unsettled month, particularly later on. But here we are on the 4th of June with low pressure sort of sitting to the south and the west of the country, producing lots of heavy rain. Things do get a little bit better as we run through into the middle part of the month. This is the 10th of June, and the low pressure, well, pressure is still very weak there. You notice how weak the Azores high is. That's down to the southwest, a long way to the southwest, and unlike in 1911 where that Azores high was constantly trying to throw up ridges and build areas of high pressure up across the country, no, not this time. It's down to the southwest and it's pretty weak, well away from the UK. So instead we've got sort of areas of high pressure sitting to the north, and bringing these areas of low pressure through. Now they're fairly shallow, so it's not too wet at this point, although this area of low pressure around the Bay of Biscay would be threatening some very heavy rain. As we run through, we find the Azores high trying to throw up a little bit of a ridge on the 17th of June 1912, but not able to, but low pressure coming through once again by the 20th. So it's sort of gently unsettled this. It's not a severe washout, but it is unsettled, and it's fairly cool, near normal sort of temperatures going on through this period. As we run through in towards the 21st of June, we find high pressure again is trying to build to the southwest, but no, it doesn't really pull it off. The low pressure out to the west of the country is still the driving factor of the weather, and that just flattens the ridge off really as we go through to June 1912. Here comes the low pressure across the country once again. Now, as we move through in towards the end of the month, we keep the low pressure over the country as a shallow feature, so it's remaining unsettled really. There's no ridge of high pressure building across the country. But again, it's not a severe washout through this period. The high pressure is away from us. It's not able to influence us, but the low pressures, fortunately at this point anyway, aren't too intense. As we go through towards the start of July, we're still under trough of low pressure, so very cool and showery type conditions. July 1912 has a central temperature of 16.1 degrees. That low pressure finally moves away as we go through to the 4th, and the area of high pressure from the Azores high, does manage to throw up a ridge, and this sort of first couple of weeks of July 1912 is the best that the summer has to offer. We do get a temperature of 32 degrees recorded at Camden and Tottenham on the 12th. So that's the hottest day of the year, around 90 Fahrenheit. We do manage to get to 90 Fahrenheit just briefly through the early part of July. So there's the high pressure still in there across the country, but low pressure down to the southwest, threatening to come in, but being held at bay for the time being by this area of high pressure. Go through towards the 10th of July, and that high pressure is starting to weaken, and this is really what produces the heat, because the high pressure is starting to weaken and slip away to the east. The low pressure is trying to get back in off the Atlantic, and the squeeze between the two just briefly pulls up some hot air from the south. So that allows us around the 12th, 13th of July 1912 to pop up to 32 degrees 90 Fahrenheit. It's not sustained because the low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic, no doubt producing violent thunderstorms. But just briefly, we do get a burst of proper summer heat. And then the high pressure tries to build back in again as we go through to the middle part of July 1912. But now it's beginning to weaken. Here we are on the 18th. It's beginning to break down. We're about to move now into the worst phase of the summer. So that brief little heat wave that we had early on is very quickly forgotten. As pressure leaks away, the high pressure just collapses, low pressure is forming to the east and to the north of the country. It's turning much more unsettled. On the 24th of July, we've got a big area of low pressure sitting down to the southwest, throwing up bands of heavy rain from the southwest of the country. And things just deteriorate further then as we go through the final week of July 1912. That low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic, northern blocking beginning to get going around Greenland, Iceland. Never a good sign in the summer. And here's how we end July 1912 with low pressure to the north of the country, and the jet stream is digging in here. This black line with the green colour shows the jet stream pushing down from the North Pole and usually far south with these areas of low pressure, really telling us what's ahead for August 1912, because August 1912 was an absolutely dire month. Has a central England temperature, get this, of 12.9 degrees. Now, there's been many Septembers in recent years that have been well above 12.9. So to get August at 12.9, I mean, we think we're doing bad if we get a central England temperature for August of around 15 Celsius. To get it down to 12.9 is very cold indeed. I believe it's the coldest August of the 20th century. There wasn't an August as cold as this. And to add insult to injury, not only is it cold, it's also very wet. It's just about the wettest and dullest August of the 20th century as well, with 183 millimetres of average rainfall through this month, 231% of the average. So this chart for the 1st of August 1912 really tells us where it's all going, because as we move through the month, well, it just gets worse and worse. Really, look at this area, deep area of low pressure across the country on the 7th of August 1912. Can you believe that London only had one day above 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit, on this day, and Birmingham and Manchester had nothing higher than 19 degrees, and it didn't make 16 Celsius, 61 Fahrenheit all month across Aberdeen. There was also local frost through this first week of August 1912. As well. So the troughs of low pressure just continue. Really got a nice area of high pressure up there across Russia. No doubt they was having a pretty hot time of it, but not so for us. We're under these troughs of low pressure. The air is digging in from the north as well. And it just gets worse and worse through the month. So on the 14th, we've got a deep area of low pressure to the northeast of Scotland, producing lots of heavy rain and cold north to northwesterly winds coming down across the country as well. We go through to the 17th of August, and it remains absolutely dire. Look at this high pressure up over Greenland. As I said, that's never a good sign in the summer, because when you get high pressure up there, you tend to get low pressure underneath it. And this low pressure just produces more deluge across many parts of the country as we go through the 18th. And on towards the 21st, it just goes on with the low pressure in there across the country, producing yet more heavy rain. And the worst of the month is still to come. Actually, the low pressures are getting more intense here in the Atlantic as we go through to 24th of August. So we go through to our wettest period of the month now. The 25th on in towards the 26th. These areas of low pressure are producing copious amounts of rain across many parts of the country, and there was a great flood around the 26th and the 27th of August across the east. So parts of Great Yarmouth records the pressure down to 978 millibars. There's 100 millimetres of rain widely falling across Norfolk and Suffolk with westerly gales. Absolutely dreadful. Much of East Anglia flooded through this latter part of August. So look at that chart for the 27th of August 1912. This is what produces the severe gales, or the gales, and the floods and the flooding rains across the east. It's this area of low pressure moves in off the Atlantic on the 26th and sits off the East Anglian coast on the 27th. Northerly gales coming down there. No doubt temperatures are struggling to get to around 10, 11 degrees with copious amounts of rain. Very, very unpleasant conditions. And again, you notice the high pressure up across Greenland, Iceland. As I say, when you get that, you tend to get these areas of low pressure travelling underneath it, and we saw it in the summer of 2007, didn't we? But we had similar sort of synoptics to this, albeit nowhere near as cold. The months weren't as cold, but similar synoptics with the flooding rains coming in off the Atlantic. We end the summer of 1912 on a typically unsettled note, although the Azores is trying to throw up a little bit of a ridge here. Low pressure is still really in control of the weather. I won't show you the chart for September 1912, but it was a little bit dry. It was a dry month, but very cool. After that really cold August, we have a cold September with a central England temperature of just 11.1 degrees. It's been a long, long time since we've had a September anywhere near as cold as that. We tend to think of September now as a summer month, really, but it can be very cold with temperatures of just central temperatures down into the 11 Celsius. So quite remarkable how these two summers occur with one another. We've got the very extreme heat and dryness of 1911. The next year, and it just goes to show the same, really, about 2 years and ever the same. The next year we get this extraordinarily unsettled summer, and particularly focused on August, which is the worst August in terms of rainfall, temperature, you name it. It's the worst August by far of the 20th century. Remember, there was another really bad August, can you believe, in 1917. So, well, they really suffered, didn't they? But of course, they had that good summer in 1911. Just want to leave you with a few pictures before I go. This is Hyde Park in July 1911. The faces peer out at us on what was no doubt a very, very hot day. Everybody having to get into the water to try and cool themselves down. These are cattle in a field on a hot and sunny day in the summer of 1911. And then, I don't know where this is, it's somewhere on the seaside, but people cooling off in the sea. That would have been the place to be, I'm sure, through July and August 1911 on the coast with the sea breezes and being able to get in the sea and cool yourselves down. But it's amazing how these faces peer out at us from so long ago, talking about over 100 years ago. And I always wonder when I see these sort of very old pictures what the people were experiencing really in terms of the heat when this picture was taken. In contrast, this is from 1912. I don't know where this is, but quite clearly this is a flooded street with the horse and cart there wading through the water. I'm sure it was a shock compared to what happened with what these people experienced the summer before. Here we are in Norwich. This is after that tremendous flood at the end of August. Looks more like Venice, doesn't it? The street there, well and truly flooded again. The faces peering out at us, and I'm sure it was a shock for these people after the summer that happened just before. And then this is at Buxton. This is after the Buxton Dam burst. You can see there very severe flooding right the way across the floodplains, no doubt having a tremendous impact on the farmers and the agriculture. Of course, much more agriculture going on back over 100 years ago than we have today. So no doubt it was very, very impactful. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video. A bit of a bit different compared to what we usually do at GasOverViz. Normal service will be resumed tomorrow. But I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. The look at 1911 and 1912. Will the summer of 2015 be a 1911 or will it be a 1912? All will be revealed in due course. That's all for now. Enjoy what's left of your Bank Holiday Monday. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.